As my co-host on Abyssal Music will say, greetings and salutations. And as I'll say, let's try this again. So I released my first video uh, earlier today, and quickly found out that there was no audio after my co-host on Abyssal, Samuel the Infamous, messaged me and said, "Hey, there's no audio on your video." So I figured out what was going on. It was something going on with my headset that I was able to fix. Um, So as a result, we are doing this video again. I set the other one to private, and I'm relaunching it because I thought that this video was important enough, and it's outside the scope of the things that I want to do on this channel a little bit. It's more sticking to uh, I wouldn't say that I won't do anything that's real life based or uh, political every once in a while, just because in my opinion. Um, the things that we see every day is a part of pop culture. It's popular culture, things that are popular. Not everybody is into the news or politics, but other people are. Um, some people see it as their way of life. Others see it as a waste of time. And then you have other people who see politics and the things that we're seeing today in the news as entertainment. To quote uh, Denzel Washington's character Alonzo on Training Day, it's 98% BS, but it entertains me. And so I think that was a true statement if there ever was one, because when you get past all of the emotions and things that the news is pushing out and trying to get you emotionally involved, it's not anything different from a movie or a TV show. Just things that we're seeing right now is just so outlandish that it's almost like, are these real politicians or are they actors? Are they just paid actors? But and it being no insult to any of them. But with that said, there was an article that I solely did a video on, and I thought it was important enough that I redo this video and private the other one, because the topic is serious enough that I think it warrants a conversation, especially from our first video. So with that said, um, let's get this back up. If you can see it, I will definitely work on the size of the screen. So I'm using EVMux. So I'm new to, it's not streaming. It's a little new to me, so I'm kind of playing around with it, and things will get better. Things will get better as we move along. In fact, let me see if I can. There we go. Yep, that's much better. Okay, so as you guys can see, um, Idaho is not playing, and that was the title of my first video, uh, with no sound. So, Idaho governor has signed a bill allowing the death penalty for pedophiles or pedos, whatever you want to call them. You know how sensitive YouTube gets. So, criminals convicted of lewd conduct with children under 12 years of age could face the death penalty under a bill signed by Idaho Governor Brad Little. The bill, HB 380, grants a judge or jury the ability to factor in the death penalty when crimes involving lewd conduct to a child under the age of 12 are proven in a trial. Idaho law initially only allowed the death penalty in first degree murder cases with aggravating circumstances. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of hands would be raised if I said, hey, this was a long time coming somewhere. And what I'm thinking is some states are going to look at this and they're going to quickly follow suit, because it makes sense. And then you have other states, and I'm not going to name them because it's just my assumption. I think that there'll be other states that will not adopt this. They will find a way to say that it's absolutely appalling. Um, and I don't think anybody would be shocked by my opinion considering what we're seeing going on in the news right now. Um, but I digress. Let's move on. A mandatory minimum sentence of 25 years imprisonment with a possibility maximum term of life may be imposed if the defendant is found guilty of kidnapping the victim or participating in human trafficking. Quote, during the commission of or to accomplish the lewd conduct according to the bill's language, strengthening punishments for other convictions where obscene behavior against a minor aged 16 and younger was confirmed but didn't meet death penalty eligibility. The law goes into effect on July 1st. I'm not a betting man, but I have no problems with taking of making a bet or taking one every once in a while. I would not be surprised if this law in the state of Ohio gets dragged into court behind this. And it's going to be interesting to see who authors and who signed on to the lawsuit. Because anybody who has a problem with this, you're going to look at them. Everyone is. Because if there's anything that could bring majority of the people together from different pockets of society, meaning whether it be straight, LGBTQ, um, right, left, regardless of what the news is saying, there's a lot of people that are in those sects throughout the country that when it comes to this type of situation, they're going to join hands and say, as I said, it's a long time coming. You know, um, Republican State Representative Bruce Skog, who co-authored the bill with House Assistant Majority Leader Josh Tanner, said in a House Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee meeting that HB 380, quote, establishes a strong deterrent, making it clear Idaho will not tolerate these offenses. I think I think it's a good attempt at a deterrent. We'll see how many people it actually stops because there's laws in the book all over the country and it's not stopping these people. But hopefully, with the threat of sitting in a electric chair or getting lethally injected or being marched in front of a firing squad, that's a bit different. Um, so, I mean, it is what it is. Um, I would like to think that those who, whether you see it as them suffering from some kind of disability or mental condition to where they find children attractive, um, I'm sure none of them wants to be marched, wants to be blindfolded and standing in front of a wall waiting to be penetrated with objects and not in the way that they want. Moving on. After signing the bill into law, Little, a Republican, said, quote, just like capital murder destroys lives, aggravated sexual abuse of a young child devastates victims and families for generations. The sexual abuse of children is sickening and evil, and perpetrators convicted of these crimes deserve the ultimate punishment. Now, people who, the detractors of this law, and again, the people who are likely going to file a lawsuit, they're going to argue, in my opinion, that the punishment doesn't fit the crime. They're going to bring in, they're going to try to drag the Constitution and say this is unusual punishment. Well, here's the thing. I know people who have been sexually abused by adults when they were children. And some of them I've known since I was a child. I knew them before and after it had happened. None of those people are the same as they were before I met them. Some of them had repressed memories of it and broke down in tears because after several years, the memories came to the surface and just hit them like a sledgehammer to the temple. You cannot undo, and I hope I'm wrong, you cannot undo, or it is very difficult to undo that type of damage because it leaves a mark on a person, leaves a mark on their soul. It's something they will never forget. It has affected their lives. And so I would argue that the Constitution doesn't apply here. Okay? It just doesn't, regardless of what anybody's idea is, because those who detract from this, either they approve of it or their heads are in the freaking clouds and they're not in the right frame of mind either. But anyone who has children, takes care of children, been around children, and see things with a clear eyes and a clear head is, I believe, is going to say what I'm saying. So, um, Little expressed gratitude to the state legislature, quote, for strengthening Idaho's already powerful tough on crime reputation among the states. Idaho is expecting legal challenges to this legislation. That means they thought this out before they did it. That's good. In 2008, the Supreme Court ruled on the death sentence for child grape in a 5-4 decision. The justices at the time concluded that it was, quote, not a proportional punishment for the grape of a child, and that it violated the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment, as former Justice Anthony Kennedy stated, according to the New York Times. Something tells me that today's court is not going to see it that way, albeit I believe it'll be a 5-4 decision, but in the other way, because who knows how Amy Coney Barrett is going to vote, and I doubt that any of the liberal justices are going to vote alongside with the conservative ones. It shouldn't be that way, but that's what we got sitting in SCOTUS right now. The decision stemmed from the case Kennedy versus Louisiana, where a Louisiana court found Patrick Kennedy guilty of graping his 8-year-old stepdaughter. Disgusting. The state Supreme Court upheld the district court decision to pursue the death penalty, ultimately leading Kennedy to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, where his decision was made. Skog told lawmakers during a committee meeting that he believes the U.S. Supreme Court would rule differently today if the constitutionality of HB 3080 was brought before them. The Idaho Capitol Sun reported, quote, you can say, well, that's unconstitutional, Bruce. Why would you bring that? Well, it was, according to a 5-4 decision in 2008. I don't think that would be the case today, Skog said. That's my professional opinion. That's the opinion of many other attorneys. In the past 2 years, Tennessee and Florida have passed death penalty laws involving child grape cases. I think he's right. I think he's got a chance, similar to Roe v. Wade. I think with this court, he's got a chance to do it. Um, and not to pick on Justice Barrett, you know, she's got kids, and I would like to think that anyone on the Supreme Court, especially if they have children, would think about that. You know, I hope they do because this 5-4 decision, I understand what they're trying to say. They're trying to keep their emotions out of it. I get it. I see both sides, but you have to look at what happens with these people. What about the child grapists? All the stories of them getting licenses or getting out, getting off, and not learning a dang thing. I was a few years ago. I was listening to a radio interview with a defense attorney, and the defense attorney was telling his interviewer that he didn't want to be a defense attorney anymore. He wanted to look at becoming a prosecutor, and they asked him why. They said, "Well, you make so much money as a defense attorney. What was the switch? What's going on? Because you're not going to make as much, as a prosecutor." And he said, "I am bound to defend my clients to the best of my ability, and I had to defend a child rapist, and I did not want to, but I had to. And I got him off, and a week later, he raped and deleted a 9-year-old girl. So, my question to the detractors as I end this video is, what do you what will qualify as justifiable means of capital punishment for a child rapist? You know, what would be what is what is the threshold? Where's the threshold? I don't get it. And I also don't know why my logo changed to the wrong one. But um, this was just something to think about. And for my first video, like I said, this is a split away from what I wanted to do. But I hope that other states push aside their politics and really think about these kids and look at the entire history of the things that's happened and get on one accord with this issue. With that said, thank you guys for watching this video, and I am out.